The first day of the 56th International Biel Chess Festival is over with the Chess 960 tournament of the Grandmaster Triathlon, and it was really exciting day packed with a lot of action, uncompromising chess, very interesting sacrifices, and also a lot of chess drama on the board. So I would like to show you some of the most important and most interesting moments of the Chess 960 tournament. Everything actually started basically since the very first round when players start to improvise right with the first moves, and very often the engines would announce that even the very first move, like for black e4, e5, is a mistake. And this particular game between Amin Bassem and Jules Massard just shows how complex is the game of Chess 960. Here after b4, white just played a normal move to bring the queen in the game, thinking about how to fight for the space advantage. And after the very cunning move by the French grandmaster f6, here Amin Bassem didn't sense a danger and he played c4, fighting for these squares, only to get surprised by this move b5. Now what actually b5 does here, black is attacking the pawn on c4, by the pawn, by the bishop, but also, incidentally, this queen on a8 is attacking the pawn on g2. So this was a major surprise for the Egyptian grandmaster. He decided to take the pawn on b5. After queen g2, the rook on h1 is under attack. And after knight g3, queen b7, followed by a4 protecting a pawn, the Frenchman very quickly took over the game. So after c6, bishop e4 was not a very good move, d5, e5, and knight c6. Now you see that black is simply dominating the game, having a very strong center, while black also has an extra bonus of white's very bad bishop on g1. So for Amin Bassem, this was a rather disastrous opening, but it just shows how very quickly things can escalate in a Chess 960 game. Another game which saw a very interesting uncompromising chess was Vincent Kamer, who has returned to the Biel's Grandmaster tournament for another year. This makes his fifth participation in the tournament, being the youngest player of the field, only 18 years old. Here in this game, his opponent again was Amin Bassem, where the Egyptian Grandmaster decided to play queen g4, attacking the pawn on g2, which prompted the young German star to play knight g3. And after knight e6, you would think that this is a pretty serious pressure, because how would you protect the pawn on f4 and d4? Well, Vincent had different ideas in his mind, and this actually was a very common topic for the Chess 960 tournament. He just sacrificed the pawn, right? And he played c3, protecting the pawn on d4. And now the point is that after knight takes on f4, there's no combination immediately. White just played bishop f5, which engines don't slightly like. Engines say that queen d2 was a better move here, protecting the pawn on g2. But the entire point is that after bishop f5, queen g5, and knight b3, Kamer was ready to sacrifice another pawn on g2, even offering a queen trade, but clearly getting a major lead in development. Now here e6 was played by black, and after bishop c2, c takes, bishop d4, now Amin took on g2 with a check. Now after king f2, queen c1, knight c1, knight f4, albeit black is up 2 pawns. After bishop a4 check, suddenly it appears that this king has nowhere to go, because king f8, king e7 is met by bishop c5 check. After rook d7, bishop d7, king d7, Kamer went on to get a winning position, but he was unable to convert, and the game was finished in a draw. Now, another perfect example of amazing improvising chess was shown by David Navarra, who played some of the most exciting games in this tournament. Here he was playing against last year's Grandmaster Triathlon winner, like Wang Liam. And here in this position, white has already established himself a pretty solid space advantage. If I would roll back, look at these moves: f4, g4, h4, h5, gaining space. And here at the critical moment, white decided to sacrifice positionally a pawn. So he played e4. Now the entire point is after d takes e4, white can play c4 and shut out the bishop from the game. And after bishop takes on f1, you'd think it's a normal move, because now rook f1, d takes on e4, and black is all right. But here it was David who played e5. Intermezzo move, which prompts black to play bishop e5, f takes on e5, and retreat with the bishop. There's no immediate combination, it's just that white has a very good dominating control of the dark squares. Queen g5, a great move, attacking the knight on e7, and after queen c7, h6 down, the time point is that after g takes on h6, queen g8, black cannot recapture the rook. And if black will play something like g6, then after a very odd, maybe I'll show you, g6, obviously this is the long castle in chess 960, followed by, at some point, position the rook at the f-file. This pawn on f7 is a very dangerous weakness, and the pawn on h7 most likely will fall after that. So the game didn't continue for long. The Vietnamese grandmaster tried to complicate the matters. He played knight b6, he played knight c4, but in the end, there was nothing for the sacrifice piece, and he had to resign. Of course, chess 960 tournament also was with a lot of drama, unexpected moments, like this game, Arjun Erigaisi against Daniil Bogdandiak. Here, the young Indian superstar was completely winning. All he had to do is play the very careful move, queen f6, knight e6, king e7, and then he is promoting this pawn to a queen. He felt that d8 queen is a good move, although this allows knight e6 check, queen e6, queen a5, and queen b4, essentially securing white an extra piece. But what he missed is that black can actually play b6, trading the only remaining pawn left, because c6 is met with a check and white loses the pawn on c6. The game still continued for a while, and Erigaisi tried to find a victory. He was, at some moments it felt it was very close, because there's no perpetual check and the black is always in the danger. But everything took a dramatic turn, because when Erigaisi was trying to find out the right check, queen a5, queen h4, queen a8, he simply forgot about the clock and forfeited on time. So it was one of those dramatic moments when you could see complete turn of tables at the end of the time scramble, and this was one of those examples. Now, another blunder happened in a game between Daniil Bogdandiak against Amin Basenfor. This was a rather disastrous tournament. He only finished with 1 point out of 7. Clearly, somehow he didn't get in the game. And initially, this felt that from the white's perspective, it's a rather nice game, because white is about to play rook h1, attacking the pawn on h7, and with some attacking chances followed by g6 and maybe even mate black on h8. So Diak played the innocent-looking queen a4, which would seem it's coming with queen a2 threat, right? So this prompted for Bassem to respond with king b1, protecting the pawn on a2, only in horror to realize that after rook takes on f4, he can't recapture, because queen takes on f4 is queen c2, the queen on c2 is protected by the rook, and queen d1 is winning the game. The game didn't continue for long. Amin tried to complicate the game for a couple of moves, but eventually he had to resign, giving Diak a very important victory. But probably the most curious moment happened in the game of eventually the winner of the chess 960 tournament, Yangyi, against Wang Liem, where the last year's triathlon winner had a very interesting position with the white color, being up an extra pawn, and in this moment he forgot about the basic threat from black's perspective. He played queen e3, protecting the pawn on c5, clearly anticipating queen c5, rook c5, and rook takes on e6, only to miss queen g2, mate in 1. So this was probably the biggest blunder of the day so far, and also it marked a rather unsuccessful tournament for the Vietnamese top grandmaster. But it was not everything about the blunders and drama and mistakes of the chess 960 tournament, because in the 6th round we saw probably the most beautiful game played of the chess 960 tournament, perhaps of the entire festival so far. It was David Navarro who played against Amin Bassem. Like I already said, for Bassem this was a terrible tournament. For David, on the contrary, he finished quite high on the 3rd place. So here, black just played bishop b4 and was ready to ruin white's pawn structure and expose the white king. And this allowed Navarro to uncork this magnificent combination. So he played d5. After d5, now the point is the queen is attacking the bishop on b4, so bishop d5 is out of the question. So Egyptian grandmaster took on c3, D takes on c6 is intermezzo move. Now you see the queen on d7 is under attack, and so is the bishop. But now the entire point is revealed after queen d2. So white cannot take the bishop here because the rook on e1 is under attack. And suddenly after knight e4, it actually is a double exclamation mark move. Black resigned. So where's the idea? I mean, can't black really take the rook on e1? He can. But the entire point now is that after take it, and bishop e1, white checkmates with just a knight. I mean, look at this position. It's really incredible, but black cannot stop knight e7 checkmate in one. So you can't play knight takes on c6, you can't play a6 or a5 because of knight e7 check. The bishop on g1 is protecting the a7 square. And after b takes on c6, bishop a6 comes into play, taking away the b7 square, and knight e7 is unbelievable mate on the board. So this was clearly the most beautiful game of the Chess 960 tournament, and I think it deserves a special prize. So here are the overall rankings. In the end, Yangyi managed to confidently win the tournament. He finished in a clear first place, 5.5 points out of 7. He used the gift of Yangyi earlier in the tournament, gifting this mate in 1. Second place and third place was shared by Daniel Bogdan-Diak and David Navarra. Second goes to Daniel because he beat David in their respective game. For David Navarra, third place, followed by Vincent Kamer, last year's Chess 960 tournament finish winner. And then Yangyi, Jules Massard, Arjun Erigaisi, and finally Amin Bassem, the last place with 1 point. So the action will resume today with the Grandmaster tournament, first tournament, which actually counts for the Triathlon, which is the rapid tournament. The action starts at 1 p.m. Central European Summer Time, and come back and watch it. Enjoy it. Welcome back, everybody. The 56th International Biel Chess Festival is back with the day 2. And today we are going to watch the first actual tournament of the Grandmaster Triathlon tournament, the rapid section. The games are about to start in sort of like 3 minutes, but your host for today and the entire festival will be Angelika Volkova. I'm Grandmaster after Nations.
Yeah, exactly. After yesterday exciting games in Chess 960, we want to remind you it was just a tiebreak, it was just a starter. Today the real shows is going to begin. And yeah, maybe let's going to show some of the Biel Chess Festival tournaments or some information about the scoring system about the Grandmaster Triathlon.
Yeah, first, let's check what this tournament is all about, right? Because it's not only the GMT tournament. You're not seeing this right now, but we are sitting basically in the middle of the entrance to this gigantic hall. And today a lot more players have arrived here. We have the MTO tournament. There's in parallel a lot of tournaments. So let me just show you what we have here. So like I already told you, it's not only the GMT tournament, which consists of 3 tournaments: Rapid, Blitz, and the classical section, which starts next Tuesday. Yesterday was played the Chess 960 tournament, which doesn't really count towards the triathlon, but in case there will be tie, same amount of points in the end, the Chess 960 tournament will serve as a tiebreaker. But we have more tournaments.
So we have here Swiss Championship, Swiss Rapid Fischer Random Championship, which was happening yesterday, parallel to the GMT Fischer Random Tournament, Swiss Blitz Championship, and as well Swiss Rapid Championship. There are as well other open tournaments, so in case you would like to come here in Biel and watch the games of Grandmasters on the stage, you can also participate in the tournaments yourself. According to the rating, the tournaments are divided to the Master Tournament for the most strongest, then to the main tournament, and then amateur tournament. There is as well a week's tournament where you can play if you just have a time for 1 week and you cannot spend more time, but you still can play it and enjoy the games of the Masters in the Grandmaster Triathlon. There is, of course, Rapid and Blitz tournaments and Vindetum Youth tournament and as well Simul exhibition.
And here you can see here are the past winners of the Biel Chess Festival. The GMT was organized back in 2010. When it was won by Fabiano Corona. Also the former world champion, arguably one of the greatest players in the history of chess, Magnus Carlsen, was playing here back in 2011. He won the tournament. Biel has won the GMT 4 times. We have a lot of well-established players here winning the tournament. And of course also the MTO, one of the strongest open tournaments in Europe, has had a lot of very impressive tournament winners.
Yeah, and here is our schedule. So we already had Accentus Chess 960. Today we are going to have Rapid just in a couple of moments. Tomorrow there's going to be a rest day for Grandmaster Triathlon, but MTO tournament is actually starting tomorrow. We are going to have round 1, 2, 4 of the classical portion each day at 2 p.m. Central European Summer Time. Then there is going to be a Blitz on July 22nd, and then there will be another Rex Day with 3 days of round of Classic to follow, and then they're going to have the round 10 of MTO on July 27th.
All right, and also I think while we're waiting for the games to start, let's check who is playing here in this tournament, because the GMT tournament consists of 8 specially invited players. The average rating of the field has reached a record high, almost 2,700 ELO. And the first player here, the highest rated player here also is the winner of the Chess 960 tournament, is Yangyi.
Yeah, amazing Chinese player is joining this year for Grandmaster Triathlon. Last year he was participating in the MTO tournament. He is under 10 world champion in 2004, under 20 in 2013. He's also Chinese national champion and the current number 2 in China. So with a standard rating of 27.35.
Right, and of course the second player is Wang Liyem, the winner of the last year's Grandmaster Triathlon. He really played well the classical portion, the rapid portion. Yesterday for Wang Liyem, the Chess 960 tournament didn't really go so well. He blundered a mate in 1 against the eventual tournament winner, Yangyi. And actually, this interview with the winner of Yangyi, if you didn't see it yesterday, we are going to show you during the break. So,
Yeah.
yeah, like Wang Liam is back in business. To
Back in town.
back in town, trying to defend his last year's title.
And we have the third rated player, Arjun Erigaisi, the Indian prodigy with a current rating of 2710. He actually participated a couple of years ago here in Biel with rating of 2567, so it's really amazing. So now with 2710, he's participating in the Grandmaster Triathlon. He had quite a setback in the beginning of this year, but recently has just won the strongest open tournament, Sharjah Masters. And as we know, we had already in 2021 another Indian chess youngster, Nihal Sarin, in 2022, Gukesh. So he's just following with some Indian chess here at Grandmaster Triathlon in Biel. So here we have the Bogdan Daniel Deac, the Romanian, the former #1 of Romania. And recently, actually, he was participating in Prague Masters tournament where he was having a very nice performance, a great performance, and he was in tie for the first place together with Ray Robson. Unfortunately, in the tie breaks, he lost to Ray Robson, and that's why he got second place, even though he had a quite nice performance there. We have Vincent Kamer from Germany. He's actually very, very often guest here in Biel. It's already his 5th participation in a row. And we have the game. Oh, okay. So so Vincent Kamer is participating here in Grandmaster Triathlon the 4th time and the 5th time. The previous time he was participating in MTO tournament. Last year he didn't play that well, but he won actually Chess 960 last year. So we're going to look forward to German Grandmaster success this year, even though he's the youngest participant, he's having the biggest experience here in GMT. We have an Egyptian Grandmaster, the African #1, here with us in Biel this year. Bassem didn't have that great tournament yesterday in Chess 960. He had some slight setback. He started not so well, and he continued playing with some mistakes, so that's why he didn't manage to punch the last round against Wang Liam. But still, we are looking forward for some exciting chess from him in the Grandmaster Triathlon. And the next player is the gentleman of chess, David Navarra. Actually, if you were here, you watched yesterday's commentary. He had a very nice combination he played yesterday in Chess 960, and actually he even managed to come to us to the stream. He joined the stream for a couple of moments because he couldn't resist but show us what was in his mind during that game, and of course you can rewatch it on the YouTube channel. You can see it. It was a very brilliant. It was a highlight of yesterday's Chess 960. Of course, he's a Blitz European champion previous year. He's known for many participation here in Biel Chess Festival. Last time, I believe it was 2017. He won second place here in Biel Chess Festival and Grandmaster Triathlon. So he's a common guest here in Biel. And we have the French master, French national champion, and almost all the age categories, Jules Moussard. He is participating this year in the Grandmaster Triathlon while being already here for the Masters tournament earlier. And actually, Jules Moussard started this tournament not with Chess 960, but he started the tournament with hosting the simultaneous exhibition one day before the start, so on Friday. So he already played the games against about 20 players from Switzerland. And yesterday he had not such a great beginning in Chess 960, but later he scored some point and he won at the end with a great final.
All right, and I think that we are going to go to the games already because I see that they have started. We have some real issues with the chess.com boards. They're not, for some reason, showing up, so we have prepared for you alternative source. Unfortunately for this one, we cannot really move the pieces, but we're going to have to settle with that.
Yeah.
Right.
But at least we are going to see the position, what is happening right now at the board. That's the most important for us. And because it's rapid, the players are going to play very fast. So I don't think we're going to have many issues there.
Right, indeed. And here you see the opening phase has been played out. And perhaps while they're still talking about it, perhaps very quickly, also let's check what's the system of the GMT system, and so that we familiarize ourselves with the scoring system, and then jump right back to the rapid tournament.
Of course, we are having the 28 games all together in the Grandmaster Triathlon. So we have 7 games in classical portion, we have 7 games in rapid, and in blitz portion. In blitz, we are going to have actually 14 games because the players are going to play each other with black and white pieces against each other.
Right, indeed. So also here you see the scoring system. A classical tournament will award most of the points. It's 4 points for the win, 1.5 point for the draw. This means that the classical tournament, we are going to see a lot of decisive games because it simply does not pay off to play a draw. And in the rapid tournament, which is being held today, we have 2 points for the victory, which is twice more than in the blitz tournament. And blitz is only 1 point. And here is the time control. As already mentioned yesterday, 50 minutes plus 5 seconds today we have for the rapid tournament. About classical blitz, we are going to get back to you a bit later. And the prize fund in total is 28,500 Swiss francs, with hopping 10,000 for the winner.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. Players are fighting on the board. Not only for prizes, but also for the great games, because the masters gathered here. And actually, let's remind everyone that all of the players who are playing right now here in Biel in Grandmaster Triathlon, they're going to play immediately after the tournament in the World Cup. So actually, we have some great preparation here for the World Cup in Biel Chess Festival.
All right, what do we have here?
Nimzo is A3.
Nimzo with H3, so perhaps we can go back. Unfortunately, on this board, we cannot draw arrows, so this is coming directly from the digit board. It's Sunday. I don't know why. The games are not being rebroadcasted. All right, so it's the last year's triathlon winner, like Yangyi against Daniel Bogdan-Diak. Knight C3, the Tarash once again, E3, declining these invited hostilities. Now, the C5 is a very popular variation lately because Black says if you're going to take on D5, usually he recaptures with the knight on D5, which reaches some sort of a ground fault position, giving White a strong center, but Black has a chance to try to destroy it.
Yeah, for sure. And E3 was to follow. Oh, okay. So I thought it was Nimzo actually. It was.
Right.
It was something else. Okay, yeah.
Something else. Yeah, it started
like
as
Tarash,
now it switched
yes,
to some
yes.
Nimzo positions.
Oh my God.
Yeah, A3. Now here the point normally is that White is waiting for Black to take on D4, C takes on D4, E takes on D4, and then we would reach quite a famous pawn structure, which is the IQP, isolated queen's pawn structure, giving White excellent chances to attack at the king side, right? So 94. Wow, I don't think I've seen this move before, but probably it exists. Bishop D3, and now there you go. We get this Nimzo position,
Yeah.
which is quite a, again, famous structure. Castles, castles. Yeah, I mean, this
like
is amazing, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
this is
if you would show this position to any player, basically, who has learned to make the good moves and who doesn't really pay so much attention to the final details, Bishop B2 looks really ugly move, right? It's looking at those pawns on C3 and D4, but actually it's a bit deeper.
Yeah, it's protecting the D4 square, which is very important. I think the idea of White might be to try to push for E4. That's, I think, like Bronstein structure or something like this. So knight D2, F3, E4, supporting the pawn with rook E1 or something like this might be an idea.
Right. Yep, indeed. So here Black continued with h6. I think this move makes sense just in case, so that, let's say, if Black here would play Queen c7, which I cannot draw arrows to you because we're using the digiboard, the official broadcast. After Queen c7, you need to watch out. If you can imagine this, bishop takes on h7, knight g5 check. This is the typical Greek gift, sacrificing the bishop, followed by Queen h5, and then try to checkmate Black. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't work, but actually h6 is, just in case, make sure that Black is not blundering things.
Yeah, very useful move. h6, h3 have been played. Okay, I guess since h3 was played, White will not want to go for f3 because normally you don't want to weaken the square. So if you would like to push for e4, then you would not play h3 move. Yeah. So
yeah, knight a5. So Black forces some things. Asks White, what do you want to do with the pawn on c4? I guess here, if you would take on d5, c takes on d5, e takes on d5, this would open Black's light square bishop on c8, and that's why here. White decided to decline this opportunity. He played knight e2, which not only protects the pawn on c4, but also opens a potential jump for the queen, queen g4, queen h5, and then think about conducting some sort of active operation at a kingside.
Yeah, and also closes, keeping the bishop on c8 closed. But okay, maybe Black has some ideas to play b6 and bishop a6, putting even more pressure on the c4 pawn. I mean, this is very typical idea in Nimzo actually, but yeah, as we see here, it came from knight e4. I mean, it was an actually interesting move. Like normally you teach the students to play, not to play two moves in the opening with the same pieces, unless you achieve something. And here we have the players who are playing knight e4, knight c3.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's continue to observe more games. So this is still game number 1. Let's go to Jules Massart against Vincent Kamer. Let me see if I can make it work. Just a second. It's not yet updating. I'm pretty sure they're there. Okay, they're there.
Okay, we can see the players. Everyone is in deep thought. So here, finally, players could prepare because it's rapid. They were preparing for the... Yeah.
Finally, you could use some of your preparation because, I mean, yesterday in those Chess 960 games, if you watched the recap of yesterday's Chess 960 tournament, if you missed it at the start, you can still go to Biel's YouTube page and watch it, but it was nuts. It was completely nuts because some of the games, like this one particular game of Jules Massart playing with Black against Amin Bassem, second move already, and White is in trouble. you can't really get that in classical or normal chess setup, but the action was really crazy. But also this one, I think it looks really promising because Jules has up a pawn, but Vincent has a lot of activity. Can we check how did this happen?
Yeah, let's check. What was this first? What were the first moves? Okay.
I don't recognize the opening at least. The fried liver, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. By the way, hello everybody from the chat. Hope you're enjoying the broadcast. We have some broadcast relay issues. We're going to fix that. Don't you worry about that. So that's why you're using this alternative source, but you can still follow the games. We just can't draw the arrows for the moment. Yes, and this is like, I don't know how old is this opening, like a couple of centuries probably. You can't play knight x on d5. This is a known mistake due to the strict knight f7, or actually even more precise is d4 than knight f7. So knight a5, very good opening for Black. c6, takes, bishop d3. Yeah, this is a bit odd move, right? Because if you retreat with the bishop, let's say not on d3, you retreat with the bishop on e2 or f1, h6 is a big problem. The knight cannot jump to e4, and then e5, e4 is another problem. So that's why this bishop d3 usually is played, so that the white knight can retreat to e4.
Yeah, exactly. And here we have 95. So, but even though the opening is very good for Black, Black cannot really expect it, right? So that's why there is an element of surprise probably from Jules Massart. He wanted to surprise somehow Vincent Kamer in this game and went for it. So there was, of course, more preparation behind it for him.
All right, so 95 opens the queen on d8, attacking the knight on g5. Also, one of the biggest drawbacks of having the bishop on d3 is that now knight f4 actually attacks the bishop. I think it's always like this, Angelique. I mean, every single move has its pros and cons, right? So the bishop on d3 does take care of the e4 square, but now it's a subject to attack it, and also it blocks your own development of, for example, the dark square bishop on c1.
Exactly. If bishop would be like on a2, you could have just played d3 and protect, or d4 and protect the knight. But in here, knight f3 was played.
I think this is theory.
Yeah, this is so.
Yeah, I'll tell you honestly, I'm not a big expert of the fried liver, but it seems theory to me. Knight e5, bravely the pawn is accepted. White is up 2 pawns, but it is black who has great lead in development. Yeah, also here, I don't think white really has a great choice. Otherwise, f5, e4 is a very strong attack. Queen h4, knight f4, use your imagination.
Yeah, knight e5, so grabbing the pawn. But black is activating the pieces and pushing the pawns on the queen side. So, yeah, and everything is still in series. So it's like players are playing very fast. And, okay, finally is bishop reaching this f1. Yeah.
Yeah, the knight has nowhere to go. It's actually sacrificed.
Wow.
d4, yeah, look at this, yeah, so g4 is trapping the knight, d4, allowing the knight to jump to e5, black accepts the challenge, retreats to e6, and after queen c3, Vincent says, you know, I don't care about the knight on a5, because it doesn't do much, I'm just going to sacrifice it.
So we have double sacrifice in the position. First, white sacrificing for an activity because we saw how black pieces were active. The pawns were rolling on the king side. So, and then in a few moves later, Vincent is saying, "Okay, well, I'm not."
Yeah, this definitely is a very big, very deep prep.
Of
knight
course,
e4,
yeah.
bishop e3, knight c2. There's a fork. And this is the position right now. I'm pretty sure it wasn't like this, that Jules played bishop e3, knight c2, and it's like, oh, there's the fork on c2, right? So what should I do about it? I think he's just trying to remember some things, or maybe he has a choice, right? So should you play knight c3 or knight e2 or knight a3, and he's just trying to recall, or maybe he mixed up.
Maybe he mixed up, but I really think that he knows what he has to do, but he's not sure where to put the knight, where the knight going to remaneuver later, because there are so many options. But actually, if knight doesn't jump to c3, then there could be queen b2 or something
What?
like this.
Knight a3?
If knight a3, no, it's not knight a3, knight b2.
Knight e2, you want to take on b2. You know, maybe I already see our dear chat is saying that this is a blitz game from Triathlon Tuesday. Nguyen got strong son, one of the actually strongest players here in the MTO against Wesley. So, if you say so. I mean, I don't recognize this. I have the database open. For the fans of the fried liver, this maybe looks familiar. For me, it does not. But it's very exciting, right? It looks very exciting with a lot of possibilities. Now,
absolutely,
material status quo has been re-established on the board, because as soon as white takes the knight on a1, white has an exchange for 2 pawns, and the position feels more or less simpler than it was before.
I think actually we have chess.com back, but I don't know if we want to
We
go there.
have it back. If we have it back, then
maybe just one moment.
Yeah, let me try to switch it.
Yeah, and while Arthur is switching, I would like to remind you that actually last year in the rapid tournament of Grandmaster Triathlon, Lek Van Liam won it. So he won the whole thing, but also he won the rapid tournament last year. And actually, Vincent Kamer is one of the players who was participating there last year. He didn't play that well. He got 7th place. And besides them, all the players are different, so we don't have any other players from the Biel Chess Festival. It will be like in the Grandmaster Triathlon.
I'm going to find it.
Yeah. So that's why we will look what the Vietnamese Grandmaster is going to show us this year. I mean, the chess 960 portion was not so happy, but maybe he rehabilitate, who knows? So we will see in the next games. And I think
it's a bit lagging behind, but fine, we can switch it. At least we are able to analyze it a bit.
Yeah, we can at least play moves, draw arrows. That's what we like to do.
for some reason. All right. For
Maybe
some reason, it's.
Do it smaller from below. Yes. More.
No, it was not supposed to be like that. Just a second.
From the side, smaller.
What do you mean?
From there, smaller.
Oh. Manually, we are.
Yes.
No. Okay, let me just switch it back.
It looks good.
Okay, fine. All right. Let's just use this board because we already saw it on the digi board that c5 was played, c5, queen a5, knight e4. What was it? Bishop e3, knight c2, knight c3, knight a1, rook a1. All of this was played. At least we are able to draw some arrows here, etc. I think rook a1 was not played really. But let's use this opportunity to check some other games because we checked like Yangyi. We just now followed Jules Moussard against Vincent Kamer. Let's also see what's happened in the game of Argentinary guys against Yangyi.
Okay, and we have here some very interesting center here. So was it?
This is
it
a
was
classical Nimzo, right?
Yeah.
Classical Nimzo idea. I definitely recognize this idea. I could perhaps tell something about it because I think I have some experience here. Just a second. Let's go back. So after d4, c4, knight c3. Yeah, Nimzo is a very combative opening. You can start with knight f3, obviously. You can start with knight c3. Knight f3 is considered to be perhaps
Anti-Nimzo, like
What?
anti-Nimzo, like you don't want to allow bishop b4.
more positional.
No,
I wanted to say more positional. Knight f3, g3, bishop g2. It's a big debate. What is stronger? Knight c3 was played, which allows bishop b4. Now there's a number of ways how white can proceed. There's very sharp f3. There's knight f3. Yeah, f3 was played in this game. F3, castles. E4 is met by d5. Again, I think the current reputation of this line is that black is doing fine. So a3 is played, takes, c5, e4, and knight e8. I might be wrong, but I have a vague memory. Was this the invention of Capablanca? Maybe not. You know, I don't want really to spread false information because I remember this idea. So the story is that back in the day when I was still a very active player, I obviously would play this line with the black color, and this idea was suggested to me by Igor Kovalenko, right? He was at the time the leading Latvian grandmaster, and he recommended me this idea to check it out because we were playing in the French league. I think I was playing against one of the Italian grandmasters, doesn't matter, but he definitely got the element of surprise. Because the classical idea for black here is to play knight c6, d6, e5. So let me just show it to you. Let's say knight c6, bishop e3, d6, whatever white does, something like bishop d3, e5, d5, whatever, knight e7, knight e2, and white just starts this kingside attack. That's the big idea.
So the idea is just to block, to stop the pawns in the center of white.
Right, and sometimes black plays knight a5, b6, bishop a6, goes after this pawn on c4, and sometimes white just sacrifices this pawn thanks to the modern engines, and there's a very big theory here. But all of this is looking slightly different now since black plays knight e8 immediately, and this is really strange, but actually this knight e8 idea comes with the threat to play knight e6, b6, and bishop a6, right? It's a very interesting idea, and I remember this because this is what Igor told me, and I used it in the game with a great success. I got the better opening.
Nice.
And it's not a super common line, but it can definitely serve some element of surprise. And from what I can see, Arjun was somewhat surprised because he spent a lot of time on the position.
Yeah, doesn't look he has too much time.
Yeah, and f4,
Actually.
f5 is also a very common idea to block this advancement of white pawns. And then black at some point wants to play knight e6 or knight a5, collect the pawn, and
Yeah, claim some
We have something.
Claim advantage. I think many times when the pawns, like white pawns, like are all occupying the center, black has some big chance to try to explode it. In this case, we have f5, and as Arthur said, continued with 96 potential, 95 grabbing the pawn. And actually, I have a continuation of this game because from the other board. So he took on f5, takes with a pawn, of course, knight g3, g6. Queen f3, knight f6, bishop e3, cd, bishop d4, knight d4, cd, d5, cd, bishop d3. Okay,
we are already very far away here. Okay.
Yes, bishop
We
d3.
might have to switch to a different source then.
Yeah, maybe, because it's...
All right, I
Yeah.
think we are going to switch it back because
Yeah.
Cheska, unfortunately, is a bit
behind
us.
just a tiny bit.
Just a tiny bit.
Yeah, and meanwhile, just let's remind you today we're going to have 7 rounds. It's going to be rapid, the same schedule, around the same schedule as yesterday because Chess 960 was played also with rapid time control. We're going to have a longer break after the round 4 for the players to get some fresh air, to refresh themselves before the last 3 rounds. So, and yesterday, just to remind you, the winner of the Chess 960 tournament was Yangyi. You can check the interview with him after the tournament on the YouTube.
Right.
So we have back the
No,
alternatives.
I wanted to check the Yangyi game, right? So it's already in the end game, so that's why, I mean, this relay is very, very behind. Let me just make some adjustments here. Okay. So what do we have here?
We have some rook and knight endgame with 2 connected passers on the queen side, which looks pretty. Actually, how do you protect the d5 pawn?
I think
Rook
that Yangyi
d8?
is just very close to win this because the
Yeah.
pawn on d5 seems to be in danger. Knight g4 check also is a possibility, so the knight on e3 cannot be attacked, and black is just having an extra pawn, right? Okay, rook d8 check, maybe king f7, d6. White doesn't lose the second pawn, but clearly Yangyi is pressing here for the victory.
Yeah, so that's why Arjun has to desperately try to get one of those 2 very dangerous pawns, playing rook a6, attacking the a5 pawn. I mean, I guess a4 looks like a logical move here because you don't want to lose the pair of this powerful connected passers.
All right. Let's continue to observe some other games because we also have Amin Bassem playing with white against David Navarra. I think that's board number 4. It's going to pop up in a moment.
Okay, so we also have kind of an endgame here already. Maybe we could check what it started with. Actually, Bassem is very low on time.
Yeah,
He's
he has
done
26 seconds opposed to David's 4 minutes. So there you go, there they are. Again, it feels like some sort of an IMSO. I don't think we are going to go back and see how did this happen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, it's quite difficult to understand. So black has 2 pieces for the rook and 2 pawns. If I'm not terribly mistaken, 2 minor pieces for the rook and 2 pawns. I think it's really great for black.
Yeah, because the problem is here that the rooks don't have open files to work on. So normally you say, okay, if there are 2 minor pieces against the rook, if there are more open files, of course, it can be also much better to have the side with a rook. But in this case, we just see that rook on e1 is just looking at the pawn on e6, which is protected by the bishop. Rook on b4 is doing also almost nothing. I mean, probably trying to attack some weakness on a7, but it can be easily pushed. So minor pieces are dominating here.
Right. Right, a beautiful blockade indeed. Who we haven't seen yet a lot?
Yeah, we haven't seen a lot.
Board number 1.
Let's go. Ooh.
Let's check it. Okay.
What is this? Bishop. He's okay. I didn't see that the bishop was protected. Okay.
White is definitely pressing here. So he's technically down the pawn, but he's very active. I would say rook takes on a6. Looks like a great choice.
Also, king f4 probably too much because of rook f8, but yeah, most likely.
Rook a8, even a push forward a pawn.
Yeah, yeah.
I think rook a6 makes perfect sense here. Kill this pawn.
Yeah. And then try to get those weaknesses on e6
Right.
and e4.
But okay, maybe this is somehow holding. I take on a6. Again, we can't draw the arrows, unfortunately. So rook a6, rook c8, rook a4, rook f8. Perhaps this is just drawing. No, rook takes on e6 is played by Liam. So what about indeed a5 and rook a8? I think it might lead eventually, Angelika, to some sort of a position where white has the pawns on e3, f2, h3 against
Yeah.
black pawns on g7, h6.
Yeah, I agree. Because the pawns c and a, they're going to be traded anytime soon because the balls are becoming more and more dangerous. And then we're going to see 3 against 2, but not a typical 3 against 2, which is a theoretical draw. But here, white is going to have some chances because the e pawn is actually a passer already right now. So
Right.
let's check maybe the board too.
Board
What is-
number 2, Vincent Kamer against Jules Mussar. Okay, maybe we have to stick to one board because there's action happening everywhere. It's just difficult to pick. So
Yeah.
this could be the most exciting game, which started with this fried liver craziness, very deep trap by both players. So actually, this is something I love, Angelika, because it's not only about playing sometimes the simple chess. Very often there's two professionals which are like battling against each other. Whose preparation is better? Is it yours or is it mine, right? And sometimes it can go 20, 30, even 40 moves ahead. And this was a big clash of two very deeply prepared opponents. But if my Grandmaster's opinion is still valid today, I think that black is... I wanted to say has an extra rook, but now he just dropped the knight. Now
But
white
how
is
do-
better, right?
So white is having knight and 2 pawns, which are very dangerous.
Yeah, so these
For-
double pawns on b4, c4. Actually, it's sort of a déjà vu from their Just 960 game. Do you remember this, Angelika, where also Jules Mussar was playing with the white color yesterday?
Oh my god.
Yes, and he also had exactly the same pawn structure, a2, b4, c4. He pushed the pawn on c5, which never made it any further.
Yeah, exactly. I think he played against Vincent, yeah?
Yeah, exactly, against
exactly.
Vincent. Yeah, that's the point, right?
Yeah,
That's what I'm
yeah.
saying. Okay, now we have a different structure. Jules is pushing. He's definitely pushing here. I love his position. He has a great bishop with the back with 2 pawns. Black has an extra weakness on f5, but the question is it enough for him to win this?
Yeah, absolutely, because for now the pawn on d5 is blocked. There is no way to push it forward because we have the light, white has the light squared bishop, so they cannot try to attack the rook and push the pawn forward. But there are 2 other pawns, a2 and b4, and potentially those can become into a very dangerous passer. Bishop is going to help trying to push the pawns, and now he's bringing the king into the action, not to have the rook protecting the d5 pawn, but the king, because, rook's work should be working on the files or ranks, not standing there just behind the pawn.
Right, and I also think that white here has a very dangerous positional idea to play bishop b5, bishop c6, and push forward one of those queenside pawns. Bishop c4, that is a surprise, to be honest. What about rook e4 indeed, Jules? And king e5 to follow. Did you not miss this?
Rook e4.
I don't think he had to trade the rooks really, but perhaps he can. And he trades it, which gives black now a pass pawn. I'm not sure about this at all. Now black is very active. King e3 has to be played.
And now the problem is that bishop is pinned to a2, d5 diagonal. It cannot go anywhere else. You cannot protect the pawn with the king. Okay, king e3 is very logical, blocking the passer. But now how do you...
No, he misplayed it,
Oh my
absolutely.
God.
He shouldn't have done this. Now look at this. G3 is rook f6, bishop e2, the pawn on d5 drops. Now it's Jules who has to be on the defensive. He's down in 5 seconds.
Ay, ay, ay. Oh my God, how it can just all flip, basically, yeah.
Now white is
A5?
fighting for the draw.
A5, but now A6. Okay.
Vincent is showing some steals, nerves of steel here. So rook
my
c3
God.
activating the rook, king d4. I think black is just winning this. From a better position, Mazar is getting outplayed in endgame, and everything started with this rook trade. It shouldn't have happened, but it did. G4, H4, G5, H5, G6, all of this is very slow while black's pawn is rolling forward. And there's the simple truth, one pawn, one pass pawn always goes forward a lot faster than two.
Yeah, because they're going to spend twice more time to get there. And it's already on E3, the pawn is already on E3, it's, yeah.
E1 queen, and I think Mazar is about to resign. Unbelievable.
Oh my God. And yesterday it was also from better position from Jules, and then actually Vincent was winning. At the end it was a draw, but again, Vincent took over.
Yeah, what an amazing comeback by Kamer winning the game. Let's jump back perhaps to the winner of the GMT Accentus tournament. And it's Yangyi. He seems to be technically winning with 2 extra pawns. He played this great rare line in the Ninja Indian with the black color. This 98, I just love this. He surprised his opponent from India. Now this should be technically winning position, but everything can still happen.
Of course, now for example, white I think wants to play h4, and what is he doing? To try to block those pawns, or at least trade one pair of those, because you don't want to play g4, I guess. But what is your choice? Aha, so there is intermediate check.
Did he miss it actually, this
wait.
h4? I'm not so sure this is so obvious. And rook b3, rook b3, that is very strong, of course, cutting off the king. But wait, is this a win? It should be a win, because I could play b4, move the king towards the queen side, drop the pawn on h5, and the b pawn should decide the fate of the game in favor for black.
Yeah, for sure.
This should be a win.
This should be a win, and the both players are very low on time, but they are having always an extra second, so...
Yeah, and there's a very nice remark in the chat that you have to be careful not to get the position for black with the f and h pawns.
Oh my God.
Because that will be a theoretical draw, right?
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure they know that.
Exactly.
In the rook king game, I mean.
So king comes to the c2, rook c3, so now rook c4, I guess.
Wait, but how do you make progress here?
I think rook c4 is only...
And king d3, what do you do? King d3, f3, king c4, f2. Wait, but there's a lot of checks. You have to calculate that very precisely.
Yeah.
f3 is played, rook sacrifice.
f3 is played, okay. So now we should check the checks with the rook, so rook b7.
No, it's winning, because even if you give me checks... Oh, wait, is it winning though?
There is just, the, later, if king comes to f5, or f6, I mean, now he can take, no?
No, it's winning. King c4, f2, rook b8, king e7, king e6, king e5, king e4. No, it's winning. It's winning, yeah.
No, because the problem is that he's promoting with a check on c4.
King e5, rook b5, king f4, still very close. I mean, I'm not sure if he made the correct call with this h6, h5, Yangyi, but appears to be winning. Now king c4 has to be played. You have no choice here. You have to take it. F2, rook b8.
But
King.
rook b8, f1 with the check.
Wait. But is he in time? I can't calculate this so quickly. What?
Because
Oh,
it's
wait,
this
F1
check.
queen with
Yes,
the check.
I'm just telling you, yes.
I don't hear you.
Okay, it's okay.
I don't
It's
hear
fine.
you.
You
Okay,
just
F1
hear
with
each
the
other
check.
first.
No, I tried to calculate this. I tried to calculate what happens after this rook b8, rook f8. I didn't realize there's a check.
I thought maybe rook b8 should have played instead of king c4. I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, this should be winning. Just
It's absolutely winning. I mean,
a
queen
matter
against
of
rook is
time. Yeah, just a matter of time. While the queen is going to push the king towards the edge of the board, and then.
Pretty impressive game by Yangyi, because he definitely shows he's in form in this tournament. You might remember, I mean, last year he was replacing Andrei Yesepenko of the Chess 960 portion because Yangyi played in the MTO. Andrei Yesepenko last year could not make it to the Fischer Random Tournament. Yangyi played. He played badly. He finished 1 point out of 7. Maybe he didn't have motivation. I don't know. And that's why he came back this year to prove that he's actually a very strong grandmaster. Yesterday he won the Chess 960 tournament, and today he wins the first game of the Rapid.
Yeah, we're about to see the win very, very soon. Meanwhile, let's check what is happening on other boards. So we have still actually the game of on the board number 1 ongoing. So there are we indeed got that position with a 3 against 2, and now we have actually 2 pawns for white. This should be winning, right? Because it's not F and H pawn.
Should be. Normally 2 pawns, extra pawns are winning, right? But I've seen stranger things happen. Just recently, there was quite a few games. Was it Magnus himself didn't win a game with 2 extra pawns, and then he was defending it against Noderbek Abdusatorov, right? Just very recently, 2 connected pawns, and the stronger side was unable to win. So this happens all the time, especially when you're in time trouble, when the clock is ticking. You have to make the decision very quickly. I have seen stranger things happen.
Of course, absolutely. And we have here King G5 protecting the pawn. So what now? Rook G2 check, maybe? Or King... Oh, it was a check. King was under check, so King G7.
I'm not sure why King E6 was... because Rook H4 and H6, I guess. King F5.
Yeah, the pawns are slowly moving.
It's a win, yeah. Rook E4, King E5, that should be a win.
Because there is more space between the pawns. If it would be F and H pawn, then it would be probably a draw, right?
F and H pawn would be a draw, but there's some exceptions, right?
Yes, yes.
And he resigns.
Okay, so we have Le Quang Liam, the winner of the previous year Grandmaster Triathlon and also the Rapid section, winning the game. So we have Yangyi and Le Quang Liam with the victories.
All the games are finished?
All the games are finished. Yes. So we have here a victory for David Navarro.
Yeah. Can we see the results, perhaps? Yeah, all the games have finished with... wait, just a second. Did I see that correctly? With decisive results. On black, won 3 games, and 1 game was won by white. Pretty impressive. Also continuing this spirit of the Chess 960, because we saw so many decisive games, draws were rarity. This tradition continues also in the Rapid tournament.
Okay, the results are coming.
Results are coming in a moment.
Okay, we have results now.
Okay, there you go. Just a second. Let me...
All the games finished. Yeah.
Okay, there's the results of round 1.
Yeah, so we have all the decisive games today. In the first round, we have Le Quang Liam winning with white pieces, and in all other boards, actually black won. Incredible, right?
Right. So a lot of decisive results here, and this also means that the rankings are as follows. Basically, everybody who won, he's leading the tournament. 4 victories, 4 losses. And also, let's check if we can have the pairings for round
number 2. And here we have the pairings. So we are going to have on the first board Bassam Amin against Le Quang Liam, David Navarro against Arjun Erigaisi, Yangyi against Jules Moussard, and Vincent Kamer against Bogdan Daniel Diak. And yeah, we are going to have, again, we have 4 leaders for now, Le Quang Liam, Yangyi, David Navarro, and Vincent Kamer, who scored the victory in the first round.
Yeah, so let's make a very short break of something like 5 minutes. We'll be back in a moment. Don't go anywhere. The round 2 is starting in 5 minutes. See you in a bit. Welcome back to Biel, the 56th International Chess Festival. The Rapid Tournament has started after Grandmaster Triathlon. Your host for today and the entire festival will be Angelika Volkova. I'm Grandmaster Artur Nations. The second round of the Rapid Tournament has already started. I think we're just going to jump in, right in.
Absolutely, we're going to jump into the action because you already have quite some moves made. The opening. Wow, okay. So we have actually just realized that all the players who won in the round one are going to play against all the players who lost in the round one. So we're going to see here Le Quang Liam, who won in the previous round against Bassem Amin with white pieces.
Yeah, and this looks like the King's Indian attack. And there's one thing I can tell you for sure. Oh, wait, actually it's not the classical King's Indian attack because Amin Bassem, he is a very big fan and one of the greatest experts in the world of the King's Indian attack structures. Normally, if black plays e6 here, then Amin Bassem plays d3, knight e2, g3, bishop g2. But even after the Najdorf, he plays g3, right? I mean, it's pretty amazing. So the more established continuations here for white, they're d4, fight for the center, bishop e5, the anti-Najdorf, the Moscow variation also is pretty popular. g3 is rather unorthodox, but it's playable.
But it's interesting. So preparation for pushing for d4 and then later maybe for e5. So that's why knight c6 was played, trying to put more pressure on the d4 square. And yeah, so knight c6 was
Now, obviously
played.
you can't take it. This is a normal trick, right? Knight e4 is queen a4 check.
Yes.
Knight c6. Angelique, I don't really recall this position because I don't really know if there's any difference between g3 and bishop e2 because there's a very common trick here for white. White sometimes plays d4. And now the point is after d4, c takes, knight e4, you can play d5. If the knight retreats, queen a4 check, you give the check to the king and you win the knight. But apparently here with g3 is not as good. So I'm not really sure. I remember, where was this? I think it was after d6. I think it was in classical sense. Let me try to remember. d6, bishop e2, knight f6, c3, knight c6, and d4. Maybe it was like this, right? And then indeed, c takes, knight e4, d5. Now, bishop e2 is obviously a better move than g3.
Absolutely, yeah. And we're going back to the game. So g3 was played here. d3 is the only move to protect the pawn. The players are castling, rook e1. And here he is opting for e5, blocking the center.
Yeah, e5 is a very famous structure. So not exactly sure if this particular line can be contributed to Botvinnik because he was one of the great inventors of a lot of opening systems from the white's perspective, at least in the English opening, the so-called Botvinnik system. It can easily be applied for black as well. And the entire idea of e5 is black is aggressively fighting for the center. So he closes the bishop on g7, but at the same time, he makes white's life as difficult as possible because now you can't easily play d4. Black is really well equipped to fight for the control of the d4 square. And at the same time, black says, listen, I mean, I have weakened the control of the d5 square, but it's not a big thing.
Yeah, it's not a big thing since you are taking control over the central squares. And in this position, white played a3.
White did play a3. Again, another common idea to threaten to play b4. And very often this is like inviting black to play a5, which is a perfectly legal move. And then white plays a4. So he says, listen, you have weakened the control of the b5 or c4 squares, either knight a3, knight c4, either knight e2, knight c4, followed by queen b3, maybe take care of the b6 square, and white is a happy camper, so to speak.
Yeah, indeed, a provocational move, but b5 was played by black. And here we're going to maybe see a4 break in some moves. I was thinking a4. Or it's
a4, b4. Yeah, it's B4. Maybe a move. Yeah, a4, b4 is a move, and then you gain access to the c4 square. But from my understanding, this mainly comes from the Raul Lopez, that usually when black does this, even in some Raul Lopez positions where you have the bishop on e7, this weakness means almost nothing, right? I know this according to some of the analysis I have, at least in the Raul Lopez positions, and this feels sort of very familiar. I think this is also the reason why Amin decided not to do that. And he decided to push d4, but in order to do that, he has to secure the potential lash out from black to play bishop g4. So that's why he played h3.
Prophylactical move, yes, and rook e8 was played. So bishop e3, trying to even more put pressure on the d4 square for a potential push, a5.
Yeah, now he did play your idea that you said. a4, b4, knight e2. Eyeing clearly for the c4 square. Rook b8, rook c1, h6, knight c4 here, knight e2. And this is the position that we have right now.
Yeah, pretty close position, but with some pressure on the b file. There, at any time there can be some opening on the file, so players have to look out for that. What could be planned for black in this position? Do you think they want to trade on c3 and try to get on the b file somehow? Maybe.
No, I don't think so. But I think that normally this structure, I'm not sure what about the queen side, this structure indicates that black wants to play a5. The question is how. Because about this idea of b takes, okay, instead of queen d7, if I play b takes, there's no points of penetration, right? I mean, rook b2 is covered, rook b3 no threat, rook b4 is impossible. And actually this also opens white a potential chance to use the b5 square as an outpost, try to bother this pawn on a5. I don't think he's going to try to clarify the situation on the queen side immediately. So queen d7, he attacks the pawn on h3, and king h2 is played, and I'm pretty sure we are going to see f5 very quick.
Yeah, because f4 is possible for white and f5 is possible for black, so we'll see who is going to go for it faster. Or maybe some d4 push for white, who knows? I mean, knight h7 seems like a move to prepare f5.
Yeah, but I think that d4, I'm not sure really, Angelica. d4 is definitely an idea here. It's always an idea, right? So you always want to play d4. But I have a feeling that Amin sort of discarded it already, because he couldn't have done it like, if he wanted to do this, he should have done it right now. I mean, play d4, you know, here, and sacrifice this pawn, somehow, let's say, takes, and knight e4, and somehow use this pin of this along the diagonal and make it work. Is it working or not? I have no idea.
Let's try.
Yeah, so he didn't do that. He played bishop e3, and now it's already getting pretty apparent that d4 is not happening. He even removed the knight from f3, which would allow him to push d4. So d4 is not yet in the cards, but bishop f8. I think Liang wants to push actually d5.
Yeah, because he is supporting the d6 and c5 pawn indirectly, and yeah, maybe he tries to go actually for the break in the center instead of f5 push. It's actually very interesting.
I'm not sure, but it's definitely an idea. So the problem is that immediately d5 leaves the pawn on c5 under attack, and bishop f5 just in advance protects it. But I'm not sure going back with the bishop on f8 voluntarily, is this a good thing? Because let's say even if I make some move, let's say, okay, whatever, I'm going to make some queen e2, just to prove my point. And now you push your d5, I most likely will take it. And what do you do? Because knight e5, there could be some issues here.
Yeah, you're just weakening the squares.
Right. And if you take with the bishop, I might play knight e4 anyway. And again, I'm attacking this pawn. And if you take on e4, now you have a big outpost on d5 for white, potentially to exploit. Think about taking, rook d1, rook d5. This is such a bad bishop.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not so sure about this d5. Maybe he played bishop f8 in order to protect the pawn on d6 and free the queen from there, and maybe try to do something with the queen. Queen.
Yeah, but where? Queen a7?
Queen a7.
I don't know. I don't know where to position the queen, but bishop f8 is something I would not have played myself. But then again, Liang is a stronger player than me, and pretty sure he was looking at the typical idea of f5, but he did not like something. I'm not sure what he did not like. He probably has a deeper thought because, I mean, right now we're doing the commentary. We're just, going through some of the basic ideas, but he's thinking about it much, much, much deeper, right? He has already compared everything and
he's spending much more time, and he's spending much more time on one position while we are going through 4 other games.
Right,
so.
right. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to the next game.
Yes, so we have the David Navarre with white pieces, who has just won the previous game. He's facing against Arjun Erikaisi.
Right, the camera is a bit laggy. Now it's back.
Back.
Nimzo,
You can see Nimzo.
No, wait, what is this? It looks like a Nimzo position.
But it's not.
No, no,
No.
no, it's something
It's
else.
a triangle. Started with some
Started
kind of
some
centering.
Miran structure, black declined the Miran. He could have played knight of 6.
Yeah.
Very famous system. Now this is a stone wall. Navarre decided to take on d5 immediately. Now the entire point is that he takes on d5, the pawn on d5 is ganging. Another common theme from the Dutch stone wall.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and he sacrificed it.
He sacrificed a pawn. Well, queen f5, knight f6, or knight e5. Aha, so he sacrificed a pawn in order to double the f pawns, bringing out the queen.
This definitely must be a prep, or he knows the idea, because you don't give away the pawn just like that. But just to show you, perhaps, what would have happened if if black would have responded with c takes on d5. There's the problem of knight b5.
Yeah, now bishop has to retreat all the way to b8 in order to guard the f7 square, c7 square.
Right, so bishop b4, bishop b2, even if there's no immediate fork, this looks so unpleasant, right? I mean, the bishop on c8 is very bad, knight c7 fork is a big threat, so perhaps this was simply necessary. But then again, I mean, f5, I'm sure this is, like I already said, a deep prep.
Yeah, it's a deep prep for sure, and we have here e4.
e4, bishop b3, bishop e2.
I'm curious why e5 he doesn't want to clarify with e5.
Because it weakens the f5 square. I mean, knight f5 is going to be a very nice blockade. White's extra pawn doesn't really feel.
Okay, so he keeps the tension.
He keeps the tension, of course. I actually like this position because with the weakened king side for white, he can no longer castle short because obviously there's some problems.
But he should castle probably long, but there is a pawn rolling.
And that's why a5 is played by Arjun.
Yeah.
He sacrifices the pawn to say, you're not going to have a safe passage to the queen side because this is where I'm also playing.
Hello, the king.
Hello, the king, indeed.
Yeah, and we have here 93. Okay, so already the A file got opened, and meanwhile, white doesn't really have an attack on the black's king. So even though the G file is open, there is nothing yet there. Before is a huge threat.
You know, Angelika, how I would normally evaluate this position, okay, in terms of if I have to give a precise assessment. You know, I don't know objectively what is the objective evaluation like. Is white much better, is he slightly better? But very often I use this small trick, has white done anything wrong? And it seems that David is doing everything he's supposed to, right? He has to take the pawn, I guess. Otherwise, black has an ideal stonewall position. Okay, maybe he doesn't have to play c takes on d5 and just go the classical Dutch stonewall. This looks normal. Retreat looks normal. e4, bishop e3 looks absolutely normal. Bishop
very
e2,
natural,
protect the pawn, normal. Take the pawn, go back. Everything is normal, right? So I think that also David says to himself, right? I'm doing everything correctly, and show me what you have for those two pawns.
Yeah, exactly. And bishop a6 was played. Okay, for some reason, Cheltcom is saying that it is a mistake. I'm not so sure. Maybe it's just some kind of inaccuracy here in the position. Maybe allowing to bring for white to bring the rooks to the.
Yeah, but big threat is before, right?
Yes, before is a big threat for sure.
No, actually I like bishop a6. I disagree with Cheltcom's engine here.
Yeah.
It looks very normal because let's say the point is king b1, b4 is the big threat. Knight a4, bishop e2, queen e2, you just drop the knight. So it's a great idea. And also, I don't think that David is really interested here to play a3, which
Oh no.
is a
You
classical
don't.
hook, basically, right? We
Classical
can use
hook,
this.
yeah.
Yeah, b4, bishop b4, expose the white king, and no matter how many extra pawns you have, this king here is not feeling safe at all. So here, David has to like come up with something really concrete.
Yeah, and I think we have a move. He played actually e5 first, so intermediate move, attacking the bishop. Where will the bishop go? So if bishop goes to b4, there is no anymore b4 threat. So bishop has to go back to c7
Probably.
to keep the threat, and it was played just now. And here, rook h to g1. Actually, I thought maybe rook d to g1 in order to freeze a square, for the knight, just in case. But
I like this. It's a very logical response, Angelica, right? Because he drives away the bishop from protecting the knight.
yeah,
And if black plays something like b4, white plays bishop g5, now the knight is under attack, queen has to go, I take it, I attack the rook, I attack the pawn, and black's attack is simply not yet ready to be carried out. It makes perfect sense.
yeah, absolutely. Just I was thinking about playing the other rook, but okay, he has his ideas here. What to play? I mean, h6 would weaken the king. What would
There's also
not-
another idea, Angelica, rook g4 and rook g1. Let's not forget about that.
Okay, knight f5 was played. And here, rook g4 is for sure a huge candidate move. Rook
Bishop d3 is also a move.
Bishop d3 allows some knight e3 maybe.
No, I think bishop d3 makes perfect sense. Let's say even if you take on e3, f takes on e3, you carry out your b4. I put the knight on b1, bishop d3, queen d3, you win back the pawn on a2, but I still have an extra pawn, right? And I have a healthier pawn structure here. Maybe this is what Arjun should play. The pawn on a2 seemingly is going nowhere. But I like this position for